Kagurabachi chapter 115 is here, and this is a text-heavy chapter, so let's just get to it. Chapter begins with Subaru introducing himself and his apprentice to some other guys named Joji and Hasumi. And the guy named Hasumi says that Subaru is a master of the sand and bone one blade style. So of course he is like an elite swordsman as well. They say Subaru wears 3 hats because he does swordsmanship and also makes sushi. But Subaru denies it. He says that he only wears 1 hat, and that's making sushi. A jack of all trades is a master of none. Subaru then goes on and says sushi encompasses everything. Okay? Making sushi, forging swords, the art of the blade, they are all nigiri, the craft I have dedicated myself to. And nigiri means to grasp. It's a verb used for making sushi and gripping a sword as well. Then some other guy starts to speak on how they've conducted extensive research on the Datenseki, but activating it is like suicide. He tells us what we already know, that the Datenseki's energy, when you channel spirit energy into it, it produces its own burst of power that surges into the person and boom. But if they could find a way to divert that energy temporarily, then it is theoretically feasible to stabilize it. The guy then says that Subaru swords are known for being smooth conduits for spirit energy. And according to his book, Subaru's book, materials are absolutely critical for the spirit energy. And we see some of these materials in his book. One of them is forged meteoritic iron and coral sand iron. But this hasn't helped their research at all, so they wanted Subaru to help them personally. And Subaru tells them that you won't find any evidence because it's total hogwash, that no material conducts spirit energy. And the guy's like, but your book? And Subaru says, pure rubbish, I pulled that out of my ass. Bro's writing assholes, okay. He says he's not about to tip his hand to a bunch of swordsmith wannabes, and it's better to spread lies and create confusion. And some other guy asks him, hey, if it's not materials that conduct this, then how can we do it? How do we forge a sword that conducts spirit energy? And he says, the secret is simple. I forge it. Okay. And then suddenly he just throws a pencil at the guy named Joji. And it's right at his face, but he manages to cut it in two. That thing was going straight for his head. It was going to penetrate. And Subaru's like, you're a good fighter. Come. Subaru says that Joji has a nice sword. And Joji compliments it to the swordsmith Kasafune. But he's like, hey, Subaru says, if you feel my sword, you tell the difference. He says his latest work is made from ordinary steel and scrap iron. Nothing special. And apparently, Subaru is so good that he can alter the metal's conductivity of spirit energy just with his technique. Is that good? So Joji takes Subaru's own sword and draws the blade. But then this other guy sees his hand get chopped off. And just by drawing the blade, the guy imagined that his hand has gotten cut off. Then Subaru starts to break down the process of spirit energy in the blade and all that. He says it's just like how lightning seeks out places of high conductivity. Spirit energy pass through minute pathways that he makes in the blade to allow spirit energy to flow. He calls them veins. He says normally those veins are naturally occurring, but he designs them so that the spirit energy that is channeled through those veins are circulated with zero waste and just purely to slice. And that is why his blades have pristine ability to slay. Subaru says the ability to achieve this or even recognize the phenomenon is rare in swordsmiths. Then Subaru says that if he can create the appropriate veins for the Datenseki's immense level of spirit energy, it should be possible to control it. And he says if that works, it could bring to life a truly enchanted blade. He said the thing, and then suddenly both Subaru and Joji, they sense someone coming, they sense some spirit energy, and it's Shiba. He teleports right in the middle of both of them. And they both draw their blades at their necks, and Shiba's with Rokuhira and Mashiro. Joji's like, Shiba, what are you doing? Mashiro screams, I try to stop him. And Shiba says, hold on, let me at least introduce you. And he introduces Rokuhira. He says, this is Konoshige Rokuhira. He forges katana. Shows them Mashiro's blade and is like, hey, he forged this. They're like, never heard of him. And Rokuhira immediately recognizes Subaru and he's like, yo, are you Subaru Urita? And he says, put it there with his hand out, asking for a handshake. His apprentice asks, hey, show some respect, but Subaru says it's fine. shakes his hand, and it's like, hey, strong grip in his mind. Pause. Subaru asks Rokuhira, how many blades have you forged? And Rokuhira is like, in total, over 200. And Subaru's apprentice is like, if you've made that many swords and nobody's heard of you, doesn't that prove that they're nothing special? Dude is just a hater, man. It could be that he just hasn't shown anybody, right? And Rokuhira is like, well, kinda agree with that. Subaru just quiet. And then Shiba cuts in and is like, more importantly, Rokuhira, food. And Rokuhira starts drooling, and it looks like a feral dog, man. And he tells Rokuhira to go share his findings. And Rokuhira starts literally yapping. Rokuhira starts drawing on the board, and he starts explaining that the Datanseki reacts to spirit energy, but it also amplifies heat. Doesn't do much if you just hit it with flame, but if you gradually raise the temperature, it becomes increasingly sensitive. He estimates that at about 1000 degrees, the Datanseki's reactivity to heat will equal its reactivity to spirit energy, and that is just before it reaches the melting point of iron ore. And he gets cut off by some guy. He says, hang on, is this guy with a sorcery bureau? Some other guy's like, I can't read his writing, okay. And the other guy's like, how does he know about our findings? You leaked this stuff to an outsider? Asking Shiba. And the guy's like, stop writing, you don't belong here, I can tell you the next part. He says, you're trying to figure out how to process the Datanseki so it can be forged. But if you force it to melt, it sets off a chain reaction and explodes people, and people die obviously, because people die when they die. What am I saying? He says it can't be forged, but Rokuhira says, I can do it. And the other guy that was calling Shiba's phone was like, I'm terribly sorry about this. These men will be severely punished. And so they take Shiba and Rokuhira to a room, and the guy tells Shiba, we'll discuss this later. And then he thinks to himself that they never told Shiba about the findings, nor did they tell Mashiro, and he's questioning that there is no way this guy just figured it out just by looking at it. And we cut to Mashiro, and Subaru approaches him, takes out his sword, and asks Mashiro, why is that man unknown, in reference to Rokuhira. And Mashiro tells Subaru that apparently he's super selective of who he sells his katana to. And in the last panel of the chapter, we see Rokuhira is like, Shiba, where's my food? Mashiro is like, hey, I thought he was gonna kill me, in reference to Subaru. That's how the chapter ends. Yeah, so I guess Subaru will be the one to tell the other guys that Rokuhira is indeed special and they need him. And the war hasn't even started yet, so if Rokuhira should make an enchanted blade now, what would they use it for? Maybe they take the fight to Shokoku and to go mine that stuff, the Datanseki from Hiroshima. And that's all I got to say. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe, I gotta go. Thank you, peace.